this is what I have so far. Major field of black, and I am going to do, let me zoom back out. I am going to add, let's get rid of that glaring light. There's going to be details in red and white in this, so it's going to really make it pop. You have to be able to visualize the whole thing along the process. And then this is the template affair that I have. I'm going to move this down. A few comments on a very narrow one. When you do this, you can see that there's that little edge of another substance sticking out on the end. You have to make that stiff enough so when you're doing pencil work, tracing out your template, you want it to be solid. So in that effect, for that reason, for that very reason, exact reason, I just doubled that up. I put thick cardboard from like a little box, glued it to that just to stiffen it up. I use rubber bands, and as you're tracing it, you're going to say that like you're going to have gaps in the pencil lines. Well, if you have gaps, just fill them in. The nice thing about rubber bands is they're flexible, so when you hit the edge of the rubber band with the pencil, it moves a little bit, so I don't have any gaps. Reference numbers, you see a 5, 8.5, 14, and 26 with a line next to it. Distance from the tip, so I can do both the same way. And then, of course, these just hold the design in place. I have to fill in those gaps. My favorite brushes. Actually, my favorite brush died, so I have this one. For line work, I favor longer bristles. You have to be a little bold. You have to be able to just anchor your hand somehow, like you're playing an instrument, and then commit. And it helps to have a longer brush. Do I add water to my paint to make it thin? No, I only put out enough that I can use instead of having to dip it and then swirl it around, because that makes it pretty inconsistent. What I do actually is I'll dip my brush in the water so the brush is damp, kind of get out the excess water, and that allows it to flow around the handiness, right-handed, left-handed. You'll find that when you're doing this stuff, as you anchor, there's certain orientations of the bow that allow you to do the inside-outside curves, line work, edges along here better. Oh, you can't see it. Edges along this edge right here better. So you have to flip your bow, you have to let paint dry, so if you touch that, while you're doing another portion of it, just let it dry. Make it so you can anchor your hand and do that line work. My other favorite brush is this one. Pretty expensive brush. I can do thin on this orientation and a little wider and filling in fields. Okay, bows. As with anything, they're statements. They say something. They tell stories. And this is going to shock many people, and on the surface you're going to say probably, nah, that's not the way I would do it. But you have to look to the end. You have to look to the end. And in this case, look at that, major fields black. This is going to be opposite. Those are going to be major fields white. Some people do not care for unsymmetrical bows, but I believe that they really are symmetrical if you do opposites, black and white. It's going to be tricky with the accents, with the red and the white, but I can do opposites of the white accents that I'll have in the black field. There'll be black accents on this, and then red will be similar on either side. Red is going to be a neutral color. Light, dark, sun, moon, life, death, those are on a circle. They're not on a line. And so this is a circle. It's linear, but this does indeed represent a circle. Circle of life, circle of the universe, whatever you want to say. It is important to me, it is extremely important to me that I do the major fields in black, major fields in white. It's going to make a statement, it's going to be bold. You don't see it much, but it's very important, and believe me, when this bow is done, this spiritual device, this talisman, This is going to be so much more with the negative, positive, negative, positive, positive, negative. I mean, those are just subjective terms to describe the same thing. It's going to be more meaningful with the black and the white. And with that, I shall get to painting. My next project is, before I do accents, fill in the blanks, is to do that in white. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm hoping you're enjoying this progress. I certainly am. This is great. It's a throwback from my days as a kid. Back in the day, we didn't just go and buy a radio-controlled helicopter at Walmart. We actually had to invest the time to build rubber band-powered planes out of balsa wood and tissue paper. And so I'm very in tune with this step by step by step by step process to get to the finished product. I enjoy the steps. I love the steps. It allows me dream time. Thank you. I appreciate your viewership, and I hope you're enjoying this little series on how John paints a bow. Have a good one, everyone.